Hello and welcome to this CIM MES mentor interview. I'm Jackie Allison, Chair of the Management and Economic Society of CIM, which is the Canadian Institute of Mining, Metallurgy and Petroleum. And it is my pleasure to have with me Monica Ospina, who is founder and director of O-Trade. Monica, welcome.
Hello, Jackie. Very happy to be here. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to be with all of you guys, as usual.
Yes, it's wonderful to see you again. And we have interacted in the past through MES. You've been very active in that. And we'd love to hear more about your story, some of your background, some of the work that you're doing, and get to know you a bit better. So I'll ask you to start with just telling us a bit about your educational background. What got you interested in this field?
Well, it's quite a fun story because let's start that my background is I'm from Colombia. I was born and raised in Colombia, and I studied business back then. And funny enough, I started my career in the banking industry, which obviously was proven I'm not a banker. But it opened the door to realize the importance of the private sector for the development of communities and regions where the mining industry, oil and gas also are very active because it's the only industry going to remote areas. So that was kind of what sparked the idea. And after that, more than 20 years ago, this was pure economics. That was social economics. That was international development and diplomacy, all of these elements together. But back then, in the late 90s and early 2000s, was nothing around corporate social responsibility. Sustainable development was becoming a term, but not fully defined, and forget about ESGs. So I literally started the path of building what could be the how we could really connect communities and the private sector using standards that are applicable from governments when they go to the developing world. So that was kind of the beginning of all of this fascinating journey.
Yes, it's certainly come a long way since the early days, and you've been involved and seen how that's evolved. So tell us then about the specific jobs, maybe not the specific employers necessarily, but a bit about what that role entails, day-to-day type of stuff.
Yes, well, let's start from highlighting that the area of social development, which right now in organizations go under the roof of sustainable development, and in some other organizations they call it corporate social responsibility, and some other organizations they just who are a little bit more sophisticated, they have sustainability, and under that umbrella goes reporting, and community relations, government relations go under this umbrella sometimes. So it is very varies from company to company depending on the level of sophistication and understanding in this field and the commitment they have on site. So it is this is what varies. But in general, let's start from the bottom and going up. When you talk about community relations and you talk about government relations, you're talking about that interaction with local stakeholders. Community relations could be also indigenous relations if the communities that are fully impacted by the project in the area of influence are communities from in the indigenous background or origin, and traditional communities, which is mostly due to colonization and the mix. They are communities that you go in engagement, and engagement is a lot around not only having a positive relation, that is the end result of this, but really understand the social dynamics. So you understand their needs, you understand their capacities, you do analysis around human capital in terms of education and the potential they have, social capital in terms of the network of the communities in the region, you understand infrastructure, which goes attached to the economic development and how the company brings or not an opportunity for development, or if there's a need to partners with government to bring roads, electricity, power, water, sanitation, and so on to satisfy basic needs. So it is that involves that really understanding of the social environment where the mine will be potentially, and it also happens from very early stages in exploration when you do that understanding and mapping and building that relationship.
It's important to start building that relationship very early on and to manage that. And so it's time spent on the ground in the communities, getting to know them. That's quite important too. You can't do this from another country sitting behind a desk all the time, at least.
No, no, it is a combination of both, and I will be fair saying this. When you just concentrate on site, and you need also the framework, or what is the commitments of the corporate world, in terms of saying, okay, we find that most of our sites in our assessment, in our social assessments, there's a commonality around education or local employment, or the interest in progress on local buildings, local supply chains, or there are regions where we are operating and sanitation and water is not happening. So we
Mm-hmm.
will pay special attention to this, because this helps to build the communities around the mine. So that has to come from a mandate and really understanding at the board level. So that's, you need to connect what the reality from the grassroots, what is happening on site, with what the board and management can do around that in terms of policies, budgets, and commitments to social investment for that to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Right.
So, but the factual relationship with the communities happen at the grassroots, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
happens in the quality of the relation, even from the mine manager. We tend to think that they are just managing the mine and the operation,
Mm.
and number of tons and or the things in terms of the produce, but it's also how
It's more than
positive
that.
is, more than that,
Mm-hmm.
how good of a boss you are that people want to come tomorrow to work, or how challenging could be the relationship that can destroy the whole operation for the company on site. So it is both. It is,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, 60-70 on
Okay.
site,
Right.
but it is critical that the management at head office are fully involved in
Right.
understanding.
Yes, absolutely. You need their support as well. So, have you always consulted in this field, Monica, from day one?
Yes, it's the only thing I know.
Mm-hmm. Very
Well,
experienced then. Lots of
yeah, no,
hands-on experience.
yes. I mean, it has been quite amazing, because since I finished my grad school and I started to build O-Trade, and O-Trade started from being solutions, and that's exactly
Mm-hmm.
what we
Mm-hmm.
like to do, to build solutions for every single mine in every single environment where they are. Um, so since we started on that more than 15 years ago, has been an evolution in this. Uh,
Yes.
it has been an evolution in the type of solutions, and it has been an evolution in understanding in the industry what is the
Right.
business case behind this, and what it will be the applicability
Mm-hmm.
to add value to the project. Sometimes projects benefit from a positive relation, because when they transfer the ownership, when it's a merger, it's an acquisition,
Right.
it's amazing when the next operator can go to a community that is not conflict, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just start and
Mm-hmm.
continue the operation. In other cases, companies that really want to refill or fix it because the
Right.
relation was not there, and they find an opportunity in that. And in some other cases, it also happens with governments.
Right.
Some governments, they just have some position around mining, or some governments are anti-mining and just makes
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
complicated for the industry. So there are many elements of that, but yes, it's quite always
Yes,
building solutions.
fascinating. And such a
Yes.
focus on this now, certainly, as you said, compared to years ago. People are trying to get their heads around it, understanding some regulations, understanding what it means for their own businesses. And so I'm sure you'll be very busy with all the demand that there is for this kind of information. So I'm very happy for you. Tell me how you manage to balance this off with family then, because you're quite a busy person. How do you manage that to find the right balance there?
Well, that is a huge piece here, and I think that I have to be fair in separating this from being a mother,
Mm-hmm.
and being a small business owner,
Mm-hmm.
and be the creative mind in and working in the field. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
all in one. Is I will say that, interesting enough, when my son was a baby, I brought my son to the mine site because that was the
Oh,
option.
lovely.
So you see me traveling with everything.
Oh, wonderful.
And the
It's
baby.
wonderful that you can bring your son to work with you.
Yes, but I think the benefit for that to happen was the fact that I was a contractor and
Mm-hmm.
as a third
Mm-hmm.
party, because I was able to bring my son. But one thing that it was amazing, and I think that it helps me to understand why sometimes we don't have that many women on site, and
Mm-hmm.
is that the time that the site operation demands is very challenging for anybody who wants to be taking care of a family fully.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So when I brought my son, I was very lucky because I was just for a week or 2 weeks on
Mm-hmm.
site.
Right.
And it helps me a lot because I work with the community, so it was much easier than being literally in the mine or underground or in the
Sure.
plant where you cannot bring a baby. So in
Yeah.
the communities, it was all the ladies in the community were mommies and grandmas. So everybody wants to have Nicolas and jump and playing with him. So I
That's
was very
wonderful.
fortunate on that because
Yes.
on
Yes.
my end, a baby is welcome everywhere. But
Yes.
in a
Yes.
mine, if it's a mine, it won't be possible at all. It will be
Right.
impossible, literally.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't work everywhere. Yeah, but you're fortunate
No,
that it worked
no,
in that situation, and so
exactly.
you were able to have him around you more when he was quite young. So I'm happy to hear that for you. That's wonderful. Yeah,
Yes,
so
but I
definitely.
will be fair also with ladies who are technical,
Hmm.
engineers, environmental engineers, or working in the plant, for example.
Hmm.
Uh, the demands of the job, it's really heavy for if you want to have a family, and the schedules. Sometimes the time that
Hmm.
you have to spend on the mine, or if you have to be on site 2 weeks, or it just becomes very heavy for the families.
Right.
So we will say gender equality, but mommy is a mama. Mama is a
Hmm.
mama everywhere. So the demands with children are very different. And I think that that is one point that makes it difficult for women, and even
Hmm.
for the industry to engage women.
Hmm.
But at the same time, when you find women that are capable to meet those demands, you find brilliant and amazing talent on
Hmm.
site as
Hmm.
well.
Yes, no,
So
you brought up a good point there. It really can be challenging, and you can think of situations where it's fly in, fly out. So someone may
yeah,
have to be away for an extended period. It's even when they're around. It's about juggling everything, and working from home can even be a challenge. There are opportunities to spend time with your children, but you're still trying
yeah,
to do a good quality work at the same time as hands on with the kids. So
yeah.
number of challenges, and hopefully they have supportive partners, or if they're managing on their own, that they've got some sort of support network around them to help make that work.
Yeah, but
And they
otherwise it's impossible. I think this is very
hmm
difficult for a woman who wants to have their children and wants to be at home and wants to grow and develop like any
hmm
professional in their
sure.
career. So
Yes.
it is not, I mean, and I think that is fair to highlight that is not the mining industry.
Hmm.
It's the demands of the job itself.
Sure.
So you have to be in a plant, therefore you cannot bring a baby.
Hmm.
In my
Not child
case,
friendly.
I will
Hmm.
be working with communities and I'm going houses to houses and with indigenous mama. Everybody has been a mama. Everybody can be in a community. My baby in the stroller is the happiest baby. So that was a very unique case.
It is
But
unusual. Yes.
but I think to be fair, even to be fair with the new generation, that sometimes they come with expectation that mining might not be opening for women, and that I have to say, in all fairness, that there is also very open for knowledge and
Hmm.
talented knowledge in a form of engineers, geologists, and you name
Hmm.
it.
So
Yeah.
I guess we've talked a little bit about family. Do you have time to do hobbies or volunteer work outside of that?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think it's very important. It's very important, and in my case, that I work very close with communities, and the nature of our industry takes us to communities in the developing world, and sadly to areas that are, as I said many times, totally forgotten by their own people, governments. So
Mm-hmm.
we see the role of the absence of the government in terms of satisfying basic needs and poverty or local conflicts. So it takes
Right.
me to these areas, and I have to work on understanding the reality in order to assist the industry on how the industry can do better in working in these environments.
Mm-hmm.
And that can take a lot of your energy, and I can
Mm-hmm.
can really. So I really need to balance that. And hobbies, decor is my big hobby. I'm big fan. I mean, I'm a interior decor aficionado, but their art is something that I really enjoy,
Okay.
and it helps a lot to balance.
Yes, of course.
One of the beauties on being on the field a lot is reading, so you can enjoy novels and navigating fascinating stories in books and that, which is another of my hobbies. But you really need it because I think the reality of mining and agriculture are the two industries that really go to the raw uh, of humanity at the grassroots level. And it really impacts us. And one of the things that I find fascinating is I have amazing conversations with geologists or mine engineers who are very close to the grassroots, how spiritually humble in some cases they become, because when you get
Wow.
closer to that
Yes.
reality, you
Yes.
really start understanding what is happening in humanity. And we discard that. We tend to say that no, they don't understand. No, they understand a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And for the new generations, I think this is something that they will be
Mm-hmm.
very excited to
Mm-hmm.
see
Yes,
how
absolutely.
close mining is to help rebuild the future, how
Right.
close mining is to lift up humanity, how
Absolutely.
close mining is to bring hope to regions that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they don't
This is a
have any.
story that mining has to tell, and we usually hear the negatives, but there are so many positive
Yeah.
stories, and we just don't sort of wave our own flag and toot our own horn. But we need to do more of that as part of the education, so people really understand how mining fits into everything else that's happening in the world and in society. So, what about significant moments in your career or in your life? Was there anything that you would say was a turning point for you?
Wow, there are many.
Hmm.
Every community is a whole world. I think that turning points for me, I will say that when I work in the field, because in my work in community relations and as I say, just try to create solutions to make this happen. Turning points is when you can when I can really engage the community in good discussions, in not only understanding around the number of jobs that the mine will bring, no, but much more being make them aware of the responsibility they have of being part of a project that means their future.
Mm-hmm.
Because the beauty of, and I think the turning point when you as a professional, regardless your field, is that when we are close to communities in need, it's our job to understand them, not their job to understand us, because
Mm-hmm.
we have much greater criteria to study, to do research, to prepare, to in working for them for their future than they can do for us. And we make that mistake so many times. So
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing when you can really come and say, okay, in a very honest and transparent way, guys, at this point of time, life is giving you 20 years of hope, because in 20 years this is over.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be responsible for your future. How are you
Right.
going to
Okay.
maximize the 20 years of the lifetime of mine,
Mm-hmm.
or the 10 or 15 or whatsoever, and how we can build for the next tomorrow that is not going to be a mine.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's
Off the ground, but it's not going to be a mine. So how we do it, I think that that is one of the opportunities that I really, really
very
would
important.
say
Manage
yes.
those expectations, yes,
But
and to help people train for the future, get ready, get mentally ready, and then hopefully programs are
and
there.
it can be done, Jackie. It can be
Mm-hmm.
done. And in the
Mm-hmm.
industry, sometimes we are afraid of having that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
communities really they understand risk. And
Yes.
funny enough, we think no. I mean, a community that has one crop per year because it only rains once a year understands
Mm-hmm.
risk. A
Right.
community who lives under conflict because regionally it has been civil war or local conflict, they understand risk. They
Mm-hmm.
understand risk when their kids have to cross a river every day
Mm-hmm.
to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
They understand risk. And
Right.
we tend to think that they don't.
So we
When
underestimate them.
we underestimate, and we think
Mm-hmm.
that they won't be able to have a very upfront,
Mm-hmm.
straight
Mm-hmm.
conversation about
Mm-hmm.
risk, and they can. And actually,
Right.
they really appreciate it when you are up open and saying, "Okay, the potential here is 20 years, and it's over." So
Yes. Yes.
okay,
Yes.
so if I know that when I have one crop per year, I know what I have to do to
Yeah.
keep the savings. So this
Yes.
is
Yes.
exactly the
Exactly.
same, but in 20
Better
years,
planning. Mm-hmm.
and they have to be responsible on that. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
for me it's a turning point when we can have that dialogue that
Yeah.
is open and straight, and that's when the industry is appreciated.
Yes,
Because
yes. Very good, very, very, very good point. Otherwise, then the expectation is that you're going to be there forever as a company, providing those jobs forever, when in fact the reserves could be depleted. So
yeah,
they need to know that this is how it works.
and sometimes the industry is our own fault. I mean, is we just really shoot our own
Mm-hmm.
foot because we come and said, oh, we're going to create 3,000 jobs and everybody's going to be happy. Number one is 300 jobs, and 3,000 is an estimate with the entire region participating, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't even have permits. So we create these monsters.
Yes, okay. So responsibility lies with the mining industry
Oh,
to be
yes, no.
as transparent as possible and to properly explain both the benefits and the risks. So that is very, very important. What would you say were some of the bigger challenges then you faced? I mean, we talked a bit about work-life balance and so on. Were there any other major challenges along the way?
From the social angle, we touch the ethics here,
Yes.
because it is right or wrong, and is not in the middle. And there are issues that are, in terms of disclosing, in terms of being transparent, in terms of taking commitments. Is black and white, yes or no, good or bad.
Very good
And
points.
the commitment and understanding of management and board of directors about what does it imply sometimes is not very clear, and that is when the ethical piece comes, and each individual has a different take of what is good and bad, and that sometimes could be complicated. But
Challenges, yes.
the good side of this is that right now, the strict demands around compliance with frameworks, it's kind of helping the industry to recognize that it is okay to disclose. It
Right.
is okay to say yes. It is okay to act in favor of this, or it's okay not to do this. So so it's always this fear, probably, that comes in the fear of not raising funds, the fear of not meeting the expectations of the community, so
Right.
it's better not to
Yeah.
say. So that fears right now, I think that the global standards are helping a lot
Okay.
to make companies more comfortable with this type of ethical decisions.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So, as we get ready to wrap up here, are there any last sort of tips or advice you'd like to give for, say, new entrants to the business? Maybe someone who's final year of university and about to enter the industry, so relatively new. Any last thoughts?
Well, I think that we forget that mining and agriculture are the two pillars of humanity. And I will love that the new generation that is coming to mining see the industry as a pillar, and the work that we do is a pillar. We are the start point of the supply chains. We are the start point of amazing technologies happening in all around the world. We are the start point of medical treatments that couldn't be done without our minerals and metals. So if we take that responsibility to the point of saying, let's have the best start of the supply chain. Let's have the best start for communities, that we are the start for development for many communities. We are the first time that they are connected to new technologies, and the first time that they will be recognized as individuals with rights, indigenous or human or labor rights. We are the start point of that chain. Let's all of us do our very best to be the first raw material, be the first experience, and be the first part of the supply chain, and let's make of our industry a very good experience for everybody. And we can do it. That's the good
Yes,
news. We can do it.
absolutely.
And the new generation, nobody better than the new generation
Yeah,
to be part of being the first and the best. I will say
absolutely.
that.
Very good advice. We are counting on the younger generation to take things forward and lift them up to the next level. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was wonderful to get your insights. So much was said here. But I appreciate your time, and I do look forward to talking with you another time.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and thank you, MES and CIM, for the opportunity of sharing some ideas. And I will really look forward to meet all the new generation that is coming to help us
Me
to
too.
lead
Absolutely. Thanks
humanity.
again.
Thank you. Bye bye.